Sorry, good evening all. Hope you're well. Uh, and welcome to another Sunday stream. As is the norm with Star Citizen, I had a plan. We had a thing. Edison and Trent and I were camping out at one of the ground alignment stations, ready to do some great gameplay, hunting the hunted. And then Star Citizen did its thing, so now we're not. So I fully expect to be back at the station when I log in. But I do hope that you are all well. I hope that you can hear me now, and that everything is all good on your end. It seems to be working mine. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Are we all good? I don't know. Hey. Good evening to Chavez, to the Sloth, Notorious, Ray, Jadomo, Monster Avy, Teapot, Jammy Bugger, Burger Pops. Good to see you, buddy. Haven't seen you in a while. To Rick, to Edison, and to Socially. Yeah, so unfortunately, not a great moment for my Star Citizen stuff. I know Edison's listening. I've jumped out of Discord. Once I've got the game back to a place where we can actually play again, I will come back in. SC Bounty Hunter Guild, good evening, good to see you. Yeah, so here's what the plan was. It was to go and camp out at one of these locations, kind of observe what's going on, because I haven't been yet. And basically what the game did was just, decide that, yeah, it wasn't to be. I've just realised that what I've actually done is I've put the latency on normal, and I don't think I can go back and change it, which is frustrating. Pro gamer, but basically I tried to, pre-position myself and then just kind of stop it from going AFK. And that didn't happen because, I was then trying to fix the issue. The game bugged out. And then basically when I tried to go and get some oxygen for my character, went onto another ship, and my frame rate dropped to like 2. As it does when you're trying to do anything important. The game just shits itself, and then it crashed. And I'd imagine that now I am wherever I am, in Star Citizen. So yes, I'd imagine I've dropped guns and I've lost stuff, and I know they kind of can't take that much from you, but let's find out, huh? Yeah. So I've kind of lost everything, it seems. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of, this is, at the moment, this is kind of the sort of stuff that's stopping me from playing the game with you guys, and the sort of stuff that's making it really annoying. The push towards stability and stuff it's still apparently causing these sorts of issues with games when, you know, real talk for a second. Let's have some real talk. Um, I don't have a lot of spare time at the moment. I've got basically this is like the Coast Guard version of Crunch going on right now, so I don't really have the time to a lot of spare time. When I get home, there's a lot of sorting stuff out. I'm still thinking about what's going on, and obviously pretty tired, so I need to go and get my head down and all that sort of stuff. Basically means that, like so many of you guys, my free time currently is at a premium. And what I kind of don't want to do during my free time is repeatedly punch myself in the proverbials, enjoyment wise, playing this thing when it's just annoying me. When there are so many other games, I'm playing Atomfall at the moment. I've gone and I've started playing again a lot of things. To kind of to kind of enjoy it, right? And to be able to actually fully relax. And the game is doing a very, very poor job right now of letting us do that. I feel, and yes, I see Sloth comment, the jank happens, and of course it does, and on other occasions, you know, we'll accept that, but also part of accepting that the jank happens when you play is that if you don't want to put up with the jank, you don't play, and Star Citizen just needs to accept that as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment. Is that I come up with something. This should have been low risk, low threat, low everything. right? It shouldn't have been an issue. It should literally just have been, you know, rock up, do what you want to do. So yeah, I guess for the first time in well ever, I actually have to own up to my thumbnail being a little bit of clickbait. So what I'm going to do to try and not be that by the end of the stream is I'm going to go and kind of sort this out in the background, because all I'm doing now is loading up and, you know, kitting up and replacing everything that I've lost, basically. So that. But yes, obviously we are in the final slopes now, the slippery slope, depending on how bad your wallet is to Invictus. You know, and there's a couple of things that are going on at the minute, including what I think is probably one of the more out there rumours for Star Citizen that I have seen in a long time. And, you know, trust me, there have been a lot of rumours and a lot of, you know, kind of interesting things to have happen. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And now the camera doesn't want to play, and I'm very quickly losing the will for that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. We know the Asgard's coming. As far as we can be sure of these things from leaks, what it is we don't know, but there is an audio clip kicking about. That audio clip talks about it being a Navy ship getting the fleet's heavy hitters somewhere. People seem to have decided that that is ground vehicles, so this might be a Valkyrie variant. Or, sorry, not a Valkyrie variant, a Valkyrie competitor. Those are the words that I wanted to use. And a few other things. So we'll see. You know, the other thing, of course, is that if you actually listen to the audio clip, it doesn't actually indicate at all that it's anything to do with ground vehicles. It just talks about transporting. And up until now, transporting has meant ground vehicles, but that's not to say that it couldn't be some sort of carrier variant. I feel like I'm doing a very good job at the moment of hiding my frustration with everything. However.com, sorry, I'm just going to go and see if I can fix the camera. However.com, don't think that it isn't there just like everyone else. I get incredibly frustrated by the game. You know, it bugs me, it bothers me, just like everyone else, right? So yeah, it's one of those things that I kind of I feel it just like you guys sometimes, and sometimes more so. Sometimes it really knocks me off, and the reason that I bring that up right now is because if this is going to keep doing this, then I'm going to lose my shit. Basically, if this is going to keep mucking around, I don't know what this is with the face cam. Basically, I did a thing a little while ago where I reinstalled, I switched over to that M.2. Remember the M.2 that I was talking about? That I was always saying that I would transfer to, and then never transferred to? Well, this is the problem, right? Is that I am now dealing with having all these issues that weren't there before, like normally happens on when you do anything with your computer that's trying to fix stuff. So yeah, apologies for that. It is what it is. But you know, very quickly, I can feel myself just getting to the stage where I'm going to throw this thing out of a fucking window. Excuse my language, but fuck you, YouTube. I'm not monetized. The stream isn't monetized anyway, so yeah. So that incredible frustration with the game, and I think this is important to kind of show, because like I'm here for the long haul. You guys know that. I know that. I can see where this game is headed. And you know, I still support where it's going right now. The bit that I'm struggling with is, you know, how not playable it is right now, and how little feedback we're getting from CIG about just where they are, with the bug fixes, where they are with with the progress in fixing things, and it's going to be, I think, a long year for me as far as Star Citizen goes. And excuse me while I throw this thing out of the window. Oh, I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start pulling cables, and let's see what happens. What's the worst that can happen, right? Um, so yeah. This is the other thing I think with NVIDIA Broadcast sometimes is NVIDIA Broadcast just decides to do this random shit where it updates, and then it's been doing things that I didn't want it to do, didn't need it to do. Oh god. But yeah, going back to my original point, I think this is important for you guys to see, because I think it's vital that you kind of see it, that I'm not just I'm not some shill, I'm not some white knight like you. We get frustrated, and I say we, content creators get frustrated. You've seen it in others, and this isn't if that do I quit sort of video that we've kind of seen in the past. It just is what it is. um and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the stream running. I'm going to reset the PC, and if that doesn't work, I'm likely to call it, because I am so very, very close to my level of anger and rage and everything else. So bear with me just a moment. I shall be back. That's that. It is what it is, and it's doing what it's doing again. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to not bother running the game in the background, and trying to get anywhere and do anything useful with it. Um, because yeah, bless it. You know, I'm just going to try and apply some of my audio filters again to cut off some of the background noise. Yeah. So there's that. Unfortunate. But the way things are, and it's doing it again, isn't it? Well, this is fun. Let's keep doing this. Um, yeah, I frustration with the game is palpable, for a lot of people, I think, and it's moving in the right direction. It's really hard to judge how fast that is. And the problem I think with it for a lot of people right now is that, very shortly, already there are a lot of games out there that are, that are competing, that are drawing our attention away, and that's that, right? I think we all know the when this game becomes what it's going to be, if they get it there, it's going to be, it's going to be a game like no other. And we had a very interesting conversation about this in the Discord, link in the description below if you're not in it already, about this and about how the game's going to be different and how that's actually affecting a lot of the conversation around Star Citizen right now. Hello, Rash. Hello, Luna Maria. Good to see you. Macumus, Major Star Stuff, Albert Steptoe, Jag Mason, Stevie Madman, Jadomo, everyone that's come in that I haven't said hello to. Hello, as we said, drinkers with technical problems, as Teapot says. So yes, apologies. We will get there. I will figure it out if it's the last damn thing I do. But we'll get there. So yes, so there's that. Yeah, so unfortunately, as I said, trying to get somewhere to snipe and just the simplest thing, right? What I did is I took the Spirit down and I landed about 30k away from one of the ground alignment stations. And then I went there on a Mirai. I, sat there ready to go. And even something as simple as that, take a ship with a hover bike in it, go to a location, doesn't seem to work. So this frustration that everyone feels, I think the problem now is, the whole fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me sort of thing is, we've had this conversation once with CIG back in 2018. Chris Roberts announced that they were going to work on stability. If they don't fix it now, or at least, I say fix. Fix is a relative term. If the game is not running a whole load more stable, certainly by the time that Squadron 42 comes out, I think it's not unreasonable to expect a lot of people to lose faith in a way that is irreversible, and that sort of stuff. And I'm kind of thinking, that's probably a reflection of me. Right, that's my attitude, and that's where I am with the game right now, is that I get it, we're giving them a chance to fix it. They said they were going to do this once, it didn't work, or that they didn't actually end up focusing on it. They're saying that they're going to do it again. Now it's time for them to put their money where their mouth is, and I'm not necessarily going to be have the same attitude towards SC and its development if they don't do it again and then, oh, well, we made the mistake once and then we did exactly the same thing afterward. That sort of thing I think is going to frustrate. Macumus says, I'd be happy if they brought back small delivery missions, looting and handyman missions. I just need a purpose beside killing everything I see. Yeah, 100%. That's absolutely that. I agree. I think this is one of the things that attracted to me to Star Citizen, Mackie, to kind of back up what you're saying, is that I wanted a game where, yes, killing in combat and ship combat and all of that sort of stuff is in there, but I don't want a game that's ship combat and that with exploration elements, with industrial elements. I wanted a game where you can go and be an industrial player, when you can go and be an exploration player. And they certainly seem to be moving towards that. And of course, combat's always going to be kind of like part of it, because that's the whole point of a game that is some element of survival. But I want survival also to be hazards in the environment and making sure you've got enough provisions to sustain you and your crew and your ship and everything else, right? So there's a lot more elements and a lot more risk than just getting shot in the face by the Ninetales or murder hobos. So yeah. Avi says, I'm hoping Squadron 42 is very stable because Star Citizen just keeps crashing out for me, but it's been a good excuse to go through a chunk of my Steam backlog. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm playing a lot of Atomfall at the minute. I've just got that. It's like kind of post-apocalyptic, but not. It's like a localized apocalypse. And if you've seen anything about Atomfall, you'll know what I'm talking about. But basically, it's like a localized nuclear disaster, and everyone left there gets walled in. So it's very much that sort of feel to it. Plays a little bit like Fallout, feels a little bit like Stalker in places. So yeah, good fun. But that game is dragging me away from Star Citizen, and it's hard sometimes to feel like I want to come back, especially when all the new combat and all the new hotness is happening around, PvP locations. There's a reason that I went to this location that I was in. There's a reason that I went, because I knew all the players were going to be there. Right? And that's the problem, is that, with a lot of these missions that they're doing with the Orbital Laser stuff, you can do 95% of the work and then have it all stolen in the remaining 5%. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially not when, with the proliferation of bombers, bombers can just end the whole thing for you, and that's kind of, the end of that progress and everything else. What CIG really need to start getting into the habit of is incremental progression, in terms of missions and rewards. So maybe, the Hathor ground station, as part of doing that, when you power it up and align the array, you power up the station, or you power up the facility, which gives you access to the armory, which has stuff that you can only get in the armory. Right? So maybe the new heavy suit of armor, the Omni, or whatever it's called. That's how you get it. So regardless of what happens with the rest, you can take a small chunk of that mission and still feel fulfilled, because they can turn around and say, hey, we'll give you credits and everything else. Great. You make so many credits in this game, it's kind of meaningless right now. SE is simply starting to feel like Rust in space, simple as that. It's made that way. Don't disagree with you at all, and not displeased with it either, says thje. Yeah, absolutely. Macumus says, you always need another game to play when playing Star Citizen. Us humans are not adapted to doing a single thing forever. Yeah, I think the problem is it's not that frame. It's not, just don't play one game. I think the problem is it's specific with SC, right? So I'll play Atomfall and I'll just play Atomfall, and that sort of stuff, Whereas with Star Citizen, I think sometimes, like I could sit down and play a whole evening of Atomfall. I can't do that with Star Citizen anymore. Like, you get to a point where you feel like you're in a really good place, and then something happens, and I won't say it breaks your immersion. That's not what I mean, and I don't know how to describe this, but I'm sure you know the feeling, right? You're in it and you're enjoying it, and like that, for example, right? My frame rate drops, so I know I'm getting my character back. I know I'm going to be fine, but now I'm in Crusader. I'm back on Horizon, or I'm at Seraphim Station, and now I need to go and replace whatever I've lost in terms of ships. So now I need to go and reclaim the C1 and the Mirai Pulse that I used to get there, and now I've got to fly down again, and now I've got to pick another location because that location's getting dark, and that's a pain in the ass when you don't have any low light sniper scopes, and so on and so on. And you get you get where I'm going with that, right? Is that all of a sudden you're like, I'm in the action and I'm really enjoying it, and then you just get jarred out of it. And then it's like, well, I'm enjoying that, but I don't want to do the 45 minutes to get back there. And don't get me wrong, I didn't join a game that just has an instant action button. I didn't want some sort of Warzone parachute in, just start PvP. But at the same time, I also don't want that lead time to be 45 minutes. Right? If we had a game where you queued for 45 minutes, no one would play it. And it's the same sort of thing, because, flying down there and flying in a straight line on a hover bike is not exactly the most engaging gameplay in the world. So there's that. Rash Mortal says, stealing is the last leg of the thing, seems to be the preferred way to play the game at the moment. Yeah, Bushwookies. Star Citizen's version of Bushwookies. Hide behind a door with a gun that absolutely burns through people at close range. Wait until someone's got their tractor beam gun out and jump them. They can do nothing about it. They certainly don't have time to identify what's going on, put their gun away, put their tractor beam away, draw a pistol or a weapon and fight back. It's that, right? And this is part of the problem, I think, with the whole beam citizen, is that to be doing that, you have to be doing the beam thing, not having a weapon. And all of this stuff seems to be based around that at the moment. So yeah, that. Dave Wilson says, if Squadron 42 dropped tomorrow, there would naturally be a huge migration. The issue is how many would come back to Star Citizen given its perpetual train wreck status in light of an epic Squadron 42. Funny enough, this is something else we were talking about in the Discord a little while ago. And the reality there is, you know, Squadron 42 needs to hit some pretty important stuff for Star Citizen, but more importantly, Star Citizen has some major milestones to you know, kind of hit before Squadron 42 releases. Squadron 42, if all goes well, and of course this is what CIG are planning for, right? They're not planning it for it to fail. Squadron 42 needs to you know, have mass appeal, so people come across and play it and everything else, right? And it becomes one of the titles. You know, hopefully, Game of the Year 2026, right? For Game of the PC, because I mean, it's not going to beat Grand Theft Auto off the line, but Game of the PC 2026. Ta-da! What Star Citizen needs to be able to do, it needs to be in a place, and I think this is why you're asking the question. Star Citizen needs to be in a place that people go, wait, there's a massively multiplayer version of this where I can do anything I want. Oh my god, I need to try that. It needs to at least be in a state where they can see the conversion. They can go, okay, it's a little bit janky, but I get it. It's Squadron 42 massively multiplayer, and I'm interested. The problem is, if you get Squadron 42 out and it's great, and then people try and jump into Star Citizen as it is now, they're never gonna come back, right? And we've seen that with so many games. We've seen that with No Man's Sky. We've seen, and I'm not saying that no one's come back to No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky has done an incredible job of salvaging its reputation, but there are a significant number of people out there who still shit talk about it, as if it's it's crap because it was crap on launch, and like it doesn't matter what they do, it should have been good on launch. There are people who won't ever play it again. Cyberpunk is another great example of this. Cyberpunk now is probably my favourite gaming experience, single player certainly, and that includes Baldur's Gate, of this decade. Easy peasy. There's not much in it, to be honest. It's incredible. But the reason I get to say that is I didn't play it at launch. I waited for a few years for it to kind of sort itself out. Well, I didn't even wait for a few years. I was like, it doesn't sound great. I'm not going to play it. I was convinced to play it, and so glad that I was. That I was convinced, and that I did play it, because right now I love it, and I'm just about starting my second playthrough. And it's incredible. It really is a good experience, and I've really enjoyed it. That's the problem with Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, is that there will be people, if Star Citizen's not in a good place, when they complete Squadron, they'll be like, Star Citizen is a mess and I'm never coming back. And the bad media just kind of continues. What we need is this influx of new people from Squadron 42 to come in and go, yeah, it's a bit janky, but it's not as bad as people were saying, because that's a really good indication to you and I and everyone else who's been backing this for a long time that there's progress. And this is why sometimes it's really good to step away from the project, because when we're so close sometimes that we can't see the wood for the trees, because you're playing it every week or even every day or whatever. The changes are so incremental and so gradual, you don't realize how different it is. And the interesting this is, we were talking with you know, a couple of the community who've been away, and I said, how different has it been? And the answer was, yeah, it's massively different. And that's really key, because they've been away, they see the difference. The difference becomes obvious. Hopefully that's what they get Star Citizen 2 before Squadron 42, but we'll see. So yeah, Socially says the groove is gone. Yeah, I feel that. I plan to play the hell out of Squadron 42, says Teapot, but I'm sure I've missed the open side of the game. Yeah, and I mean, they're unashamedly of the point of view that it will be different. And we get that, right? They've said that it runs on rails. You are military. You don't just get to wander off and do whatever else it is you want, right? You've got to kind of, you know, just like the military, you can't just wander off and do what you want. You're MIA. You go AWOL. You're in trouble, right? And I get that, and to do what it needs to do, you know, I kind of get that that's where the game is going. Like, design choice makes sense, you know. T-Jack says, I'm starting to feel like the only right way to play is unlawful, especially with the events. Either that or play like 30 deep, and that's still not guaranteed to walk away successful. Yeah, 100%. It's it certainly feels like the low effort way is to PvP, right? Because we watched 2 salvage ships come down to this location, and there was a reclaimer there as well, right? And the problem here is that I actually tried to use the vulture for oxygen to get oxygen back, because I didn't have an oxy pen on me. And that's where the game decided to drop to 1 frame a second and then just crashed, and I assumed that I was shot. I haven't checked my inventory yet, but I assumed they killed me, and then I, you know, looted whatever they could out of my backpack. If I wanted to, I had a railgun on me. If I wanted to, right, I could have just railgunned them. I could have just sniped them. You know, I could have sniped the one guy by this vulture, killed the guy by the Misk Fortune, and then the reclaimer, I would have just hidden the building. I mean, what's the reclaimer going to do, really? It's got pilot guns now, but I'm in a building. What are you going to do? Right, so there's that, and then wait for it to land and then kill them as they come down the lift, or wait for them to fly away. That's literally it. I mean, I had like 25 rounds for the railgun. I probably could have done the reclaimer some significant damage if I'd wanted to as well. So that, right? That would have been an easier way to play. Assassinate everyone on the ground, use their ship, get away with it. So yeah, I get completely what you're saying there. I may have killed the reclaimer since I had a bounty. Nice. Personally, said Maximus, I think progress in ST should be way slower. There's only an AUC metric right now, and that can be obtained quickly. Otherwise, it's just fun with friends to give purpose in the verse. Yeah, that's it. And I think one of the other things as well, as someone who's done an awful lot of things like bunkers and all that sort of stuff, there's no variation. There's no layout variation. There's no difference in what you're going to find. Even if you do find stuff. Does anyone remember there was the security outpost on Hashton, and you could get the UE advocacy badge from it if the safe was there? Even stuff like that. I know the derelict outposts sometimes have things like they have UE war medals, and they have the artifact fragments, and they have stuff like that, but still there's no purpose to it. I have noticed that some of the bad guys now in the bunkers have different helmets. So I've seen Ninetales guys with Void Ripper helmets. They don't all look like factory fresh now. Some of the armor looks fairly nuanced and worn and all that sort of stuff. And there seems to be now a larger variation of weapons and sights. Some of them are now carrying grenades, which they didn't in the old underground facilities. So they seem to have advanced that, but still the loot table doesn't seem to be that varied. And there's nothing else. There's nothing like rare to pick up. You know, there's nothing where you go, ooh, that's really cool, I'm going to take that away. You know, other than in the weapons crates, finding railguns, missile launchers, and grenade launchers. That seems to be the only thing that feels rare, right? And skinned weapons, which, let's face it, eh. So, good evening, Shadow Girl, good to see you. So yeah, there's those sorts of things, right, at the moment. And yeah, I think that's the problem, is variation, is having different experiences and that sort of stuff massively increases the replayability. The fact that there isn't a loot table that randomizes it, that you know, if you can see a guy and identify the gun that he's carrying from his armor, right? The big guys in the Defiance, if they've got like the white chest piece, they're carrying the shotgun. If they're carrying the darker chest, heavy chest piece, they've got the FS9. Like, the fact that we can identify them down to that is kind of ridiculous. They're ragtag, they're not uniform, they should have different bits of kit and everything else on them. And why they're all carrying those Desperado, Wild Blast, like, Nerf guns is just beyond me, right? What is that about? So yeah. So in terms of progress, yeah, it's not going to be those sorts of things. It's the achievement stuff, right? It's the achievement of doing Siege of Origin. It's and I don't mean achievement as in congratulations, achievement unlocked. I mean just like the achieving an objective in game. It's that sort of stuff. The problem is everything they're doing, they are single locations that draw people together, and it just benefits murder hobos. That whole, I mean, this whole idea, if there's three of you, you go up into rocks and you all just sit there with sniper rifles, right? The P6LR is deadly at range. Why would you ever, and it goes out to a kilometre, like, I don't need to deal with, I don't need to do the stuff of running around and waiting for someone to hide by a location, wait for me to interact with the terminal or pull a tractor beam gun out and know that they're just going to win that fight, right? It's silly. So yeah, once we have base building, that will hopefully give some purpose. Yeah, there's that as well. And I think this is the interesting thing when you hear people say about the change in Star Citizen, is that base building initially was never pledged, right? There wasn't going to be a crafting system, as far as they initially said. Stoford Press, by the way. Stofords, if you're listening, if anyone wants to sponsor. Although I'm having a very salty stream, so you probably don't. But, yummy. I use it to wash all the salt down, to wash the salt out of my mouth. We'll see if it works, huh? But, so there's bits and pieces going on all over the place. Yeah. Everything at the moment seems to be kind of the low effort, right? Is, that sort of stuff. Is the idea that you can go to the ground station and get that sorted and go to the orbital station, take those things up with you, get them put in, fire the orbital laser, come down, mine the stuff. All I need to do is bomb you as you get into your ship and then loot your bodies. Ta-da! That's it. That's all we need to do. And that's incredibly frustrating. But yeah. Mackimus says, I agree, base building should give something unique and emergent. It gets kind of repetitive doing copy and paste bunkers and mounties. It does. And all of it does, unfortunately. Good sales pitch there. Thanks, Rash. More war zones like Siege of Origin would be my ideal hope for FPS missions. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. And, the idea of Xeno threat and all that sort of space stuff, or whichever theatre it's in, there's lots of stuff that they can go for, and they've kind of shown a little bit of an aptitude. It'll be interesting with the new space missions that I think are coming with this patch, that are like the patrol and the ambush and the, all that sort of stuff. What I really like specifically about the patrol missions is they said that there are a range of encounters, not just fly here, shoot this, fly there, shoot that, but there's so much that they can kind of put in. Does anyone remember CitizenCon 2019? Being flown around in an NPC Valkyrie? Because at the time, they said that was an NPC flying and that was an auto flight route. So, where's that? Because that'd be cool, right? And the reason I think about that is because if you've got the ability to put yourself in NPC ships and NPCs to put themselves in your ships, search and rescue missions, all the people that don't want to go to do the search and rescue beacons because they just get shot up because that's another way for bored players to entertain themselves, the people who want to do search and rescue without getting murder hobo 24/7 can now go and do stuff with the AI. That'd be quite cool, right? Like a rep faction with, I don't know, I want to say Trauma Team, but it's kind of that sort of thing from Cyberpunk, right? Is the idea of that there is like a Red Cross organization or Medicine Sans Frontiers where, every beacon that you complete medical-wise, you get reputation with them, and the beacons that you complete as a casualty, and then every beacon that you murder someone at, or, whatever, or you murder the person on the ground, you get negative rep. And then you've got to be a certain rep level to start getting the search and rescue stuff. That'd be kind of cool. But, that. Locations need to start having turreted defences. You can see them adding them to Pyro. They need to go back and update Stanton locations too. I'd like to add Area 18 sewers, said Mad Teapot, to the list of places to add FPS missions. Yeah, I wasn't keen on the idea of instance content for Star Citizen. The more that I see how the players are going about Star Citizen, the DayZ mentality, the more I think, actually, I don't have a problem at all. You know, I don't have an issue with how they're approaching it. You know, instance content, fine. The whole everyone's got to be aware it's a PvP game. True, you can decide to be PvP or if you want to, great. But there also have to be kind of elements of it which the idea of removing risk, of removing threat. One of the things that other games have when it's PvP and it's Rust and it's everything else is if you choose your location and you're careful about your surroundings and you post a good lookout, then you can identify when threats are coming. You can see people moving, you can get out of the way, you can avoid, right? It's the same thing with I'll use Sea of Thieves as an example. If you keep someone in the crow's nest, if you're careful and you're watchful and you don't get completely drawn into what you're doing, you can avoid PvP if you want to, or you can only take the PvP fights that are advantageous for you to take, which is everything, right? The problem with Star Citizen is it doesn't have that. You can be as vigilant as you like. When someone can quantum jump to where you are, when we've got stealth mechanics that aren't fully fleshed out, fully explained, and fully obvious, right? Because there are stealth mechanics, but then you've got ships like Cutty Blacks, pirate Cutty Blacks, that for no reason at all drop off your radar at 3 kilometers in the middle of a gunfight and then reappear for no reason. So stealth doesn't work reliably. You don't. Some people seem to need a PhD in game experience to actually understand what's going on. You don't even have that. People can be on top of you. And when they introduce the quantum boost, that's just going to be even worse, right? So yeah, that's gonna be rough. I don't do rescues anymore because of the traps, are socially 100%. Yeah, so it's always a trap. So socially, yeah, that. There should be PvE only locations, says Rash, be it behind an elevator or something that's basically bring you into an instance, or a whole star system that's based PvP and heavily NPCs are patrolled. Yeah, that. And this is the thing. This is what's quite funny about watching the whole Sea of Thieves. They brought in PvE servers, right? And just as they do, the suggestion that there might be PvE only activities in Star Citizen, some people, quote unquote, lose their shit, right? And what becomes immediately obvious is these are people who rely on those who don't want, who they rely on people who don't want PvP to be able to PvP themselves. Because if they come up against people who are actually good at PvP, they lose. So they're the sorts of people, they suck at PvP unless it's against someone who's not prepared, not looking for it, and doesn't want it. Right? And we all know that there are lots of those people. And they tend to get very vocal, the suggestion that you'll take PvP away from them, except against other people who are practice at it and want to do it. Because all of a sudden, then, PvP is not interesting, right? PvP is rock up, shoot, wait for my shields to drop, boost away, wait for everything to come back again, right? And that's how they PvP. Which is all a little bit silly and a little bit basic. I hate that people cannot trust to do rescues. I wish we could have somehow enforced a better moral culture in game. Yeah, I mean, the only way they can do that, I mean, gamers are just gamers and they're just assholes. CIG should make an AI rescue option. Yeah. AI search and rescue. Or, just, a rep system that works on that front, right? So you go into the beacon system, you're doing a beacon, and even though someone's created it, successful completion awards rep. You know, failure as in killing people in that party reduces rep unless you're attacked first. And the same, right, is that they become high-risk rescues, not because of their location or that the AI around them or where they are or whatever else, because they have a track record of killing people when they come to. You know, this person has had X number of rescuers killed during rescue beacons. Just track that stat, whether they're in Pyro or Stanton initially. So you look at it and go, okay, you know, X number of people have been killed. And okay, that stat's going to be a little bit weird because that will also factor in if they're being camped by someone that's got nothing to do with them, who then kill the rescuers, that's going to show up. But meh, right? Not all gamers are assholes. It depends on the game, actually. For example, people in Final Fantasy Online are very kind and nice to each other generally. Yeah, but that, I mean, that's because that game, the open world PvP, doesn't exist, right? If you can run around and just gank people at will, you know, if you're in areas in that game where you're fighting people, then you're opting into that. So yeah, rep system plus robust AI police response, absolutely. Serial clubbers want easy pickings, not an actual fight. Exactly that, shitty. AI rescue would be nice, but hopefully when the new social and rep system that players can set up will help deal with people setting traps as easily. Yeah, and the other thing is that at the moment, we just kind of have this finite system, right? Which is you have crime stat or you don't, and then rep. If they can start to, you know, work in a little bit more, so negative rep increases prices, or maybe they won't sell you certain things or whatever else, right? So the game, just like in normal, right, you get some asshole off the street who everyone in the community knows, they're violent, they're drunk, you know, they beat their missus, whatever else, right? That sort of person, you're not going to go out your way to help them. Whereas the person that comes in and they're great and they're always friendly to people in the community and they'll help you out if you can, you will, hopefully, if you're a mensch, you will help that person. The game doesn't reflect that at all at the minute. So I can't remember the username, but there was a medical beacon player who knows how to sniff out fake beacons. Interesting. They talked about the rep system for players doing what they are accepting the mission and being a way for you to apply to the rescue beacon. Sorry, my brain is not braining at the minute. The player would so the idea of this reliability of the feedback system, right, is basically we get to trip advisor each other and go, hey, they were great, or, you know, no, they weren't, that sort of stuff. Yeah, the problem is fake reports. Is how do you stop people fake reporting? And this is gamers being arseholes, right? How do you account for the gamers being arseholes factor, if that makes any sense at all? But yeah, so we shall see. But yeah, interesting. So on to Fleetweek then, and that sort of stuff, because that's probably enough whinging from me for one day. On to Fleetweek and everything else. But I just bought beer to a medical rescue, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Because why not, right? It's restorative. That's what it is. Cheers. So the Asgard. No more news about what that is yet. All we know is that it's a Navy ship that takes the fleet's quote-unquote heavy hitters. Could be a landing ship. Could be some sort of transport for other ships, i.e. a carrier. We just don't know yet. It's not immediately clear in any way. Seen a rumor going around, and it's a bit of an interesting one. I mean, even for Star Citizen, this is pretty out there, that the Idris is coming for Squadron 42. Sorry, the Idris is coming rather than for Squadron 42. It's coming at Fleetweek, and this rumor seems to be based entirely off of the fact that a skin for it was found in game. and people seem to be assuming that, you know, that's going to be, you know, that just because there's a skin that exists for it, it's going to be released. You know, obviously that's not always the case because there are plenty of ships that have skins that aren't in the game yet. So yeah, Brash, this. New info shows a claim timer too, so that also, I mean, yeah, I mean it might, like it can't rule it out. CIG have shown that they're willing to reverse choices when they want to. I think the interesting question for me is, yeah, exactly that, Shadow Guard. It could be a skin for the NPC ships, 100%, or a reward, one of the FOMO rewards for a mission, right, or whatever. The question is at the moment is that you know, they sell them as limited hulls anyway, and they sell out every single time. So it's not like they need it to sell more. They can just extend how many hulls they sell. It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? And one of the reasons they said that they're not selling it is the spoilers, even though that we were able to get on the Idris for the whatever it was, you know, mission. You were actually able to land on and fight through. And I actually managed to do part of that. I just didn't manage to record as much as I would have liked. But yes, there's a few things on that front that you can do with it and all that sort of stuff. So, Xeno Threat. Was it Xeno Threat? I thought it was, there was a specific mission, wasn't it? It was fight the Idris, and it was after the Polarises release, because all the Polarises were going there and then just using their nose. Was it the updated Xeno Threat, was it? Yeah. It was, you know, they were basically just punting the doors and getting them to open. Yeah, because I actually managed to EVA onto one, which was kind of cool. But, you know, we'll see. Save Stanton. Yeah, that's it. Okay, but have you seen the extended Pioneer and Holly sale that's been going on? Are they changing the way they sell cap ships? Don't know. And at the end of the day, I mean, what do you guys think? Does it matter if they sell cap ships? What if they were to stop them from being hull limited? What's the impact? What's the downside of them not doing that anymore? I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I'm just asking, if we went to the extreme, you can buy Idrises and everything else at Fleetweek and, you know, IAE as much as you wanted. What's the downside, do we think? Hey, Rusty Pigeon. Good to see you, buddy. Glad to have you in. Yeah, what do you think? Have we got any thoughts on that? Just stretch the Legionnaire into a Pelican and add a grav plate cargo thing to carry a tank. Nice, Amy. Nice. What do we think? Spoilers, I guess. They're already price limited. I think anyone who already wanted has it. It's always there, less FOMO. This is true. What's the downside for us, though? Because this is what I think is why hold off on releasing it for as long as they did, and then suddenly do it now? What's the impetus to have it done now? If we're saying selling it as much as they want is less FOMO, so people are less inclined to buy, it's probably not driven by any sort of panic of, oh, well, you know, they don't have the money and they're just selling it for more money, because they could have the same effect by going, hey, this ILW only, unlimited. Do you see what I mean? It's an interesting choice. I don't know why they decide to go for it now. Downside to what? Not selling capitals. No, I mean, if they sell as many capitals as they want. What happens if the Pioneer and the Idris and everything else weren't hull limited? Just, they're on sale when they're on sale, and they're off sale when they're off sale, like every other ship. Very few games last about 10 years after release. Maybe the playable alpha has burnt us out. I don't know. I think there's more than enough to keep me going, and you know, like I've said to people, um, you know, if they can get this stable to the point where stuff actually works, and what happened today, me getting hoofed out for absolutely no reason, if we can stop stuff like that happening, great. You know, I'm all for it, and I will spend a lot longer in the game. But you know, give me things to do. Give me things that you know will help. Um, you know, that show me that I'm making some sort of progression over money and rep. Right? There's nothing worse than a rep grind. And money after a certain point becomes completely useless. So you know, show me other things. You know, me do it. People doing stuff in, let's take World of Warcraft, right? One of the most, if probably not, if probably the most successful um, MMO of all time, money wise, reach wise, age, as in age of the the game wise, right? And player base. People playing that rep and money are just means to an end, right? You get rep to get what you want. You don't get rep to get rep, right? If there were factions where the difference between neutral and exalted was nothing, people wouldn't bother, apart from those real weirdos who go hunting like you know, who go hunting the achievements and everything else, right? There'd just be no point. You just wouldn't do it. So money and rep in and of themselves mean nothing. They only mean something because of what you can do with it, right? And there's that. So you know, give us something to work towards more than money and rep, because that's all we have at the moment. You know, money to buy other ships, yep, that makes sense, but it becomes a lot less of an impetus when you know wipes are coming, right? And I think for a lot of people, the buying of ships with in-game currency is not necessarily the whole driver, unless they're going, hey, this patch, I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to watch myself earn up. Um, One of the things I think that we're beginning to see is, you know, people are just buying that stuff because they're like, hey, I've got a spare 80 mil, I'll just go buy that ship, whatever. So yeah, we'll see. But we'll figure it out as we go on. I kind of wish the Polaris had been hull limited. Now there's so many of them out there already, and yes, of course the PTU at the moment is filling up the place, and you can get them through Wicklow now as well. Although they're not permanent attributions to your account, they're just for that wipe, right? But yes, there's going to be a lot of Polaris promo money for Squadron 42, possibly. Although there's a whole bunch of ways they could do that. I mean, they could just start selling Squadron 42 again, right? That would work. Avi says, "Oh, you mean removing the limit on them? Probably just an arbitrary one made by CR. I think I remember him saying he didn't want to see a lot of certain ships to make them cool or something like that. Yeah, that seems to be the reason. I guess you know the question then is, if that's the case, why then bring the Idris in right now? Do they? Maybe this is kind of part of the problem, right? Is that maybe CIG are so focused on needing to give us new stuff, which is why they've gone patch fixing and then brought in the whole Hathor thing. And maybe now what they need to do is they need to take the biggest ship that they've got that's flyable in game and bring it in, because they're so terrified that even though that they're focusing on stability and bug fixing and everything else, if they don't consistently give us new things, the game will die on its ass. I mean, maybe that's where they're going with this. Maybe that's the thought. I don't know. Oh, that's an unfortunate face. I don't know is the honest answer. We'll see. Right, give me a second. I'm just gonna. Let's try this instead. That might work better. Okay, let's try that. Ooh, I'm weird. I'm in the corner like that. There we go. Ta-da! Ba ba da ba 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 ba. But yeah. There we go. Let's see how this works. Well, I mean, I think we're identifying what one of the problems are, because, funny enough, in the background, I've just booted up Star Citizen. So that's what that is. Okay. So, yeah. So that's part of the problem. Okay. Zavith says, when you can buy a cap ship anytime, there's really no motivation to buy them when they're on sale. Example, if I can buy a Jav whenever I wanted, it might be something I might not buy now. Yeah, so I'm not suggesting that you can buy them anytime. I mean, during Fleetweek and ILW, but if they sold as many as they wanted during those times, sorry, between Fleetweek and IAE, so 2 times a year, but as many people want one, get one. I don't know. What's the downside? You know. Whether it's on sale or not doesn't stop people from getting it. Players are pretty easily hijacking the NPC address and running it pretty well. Yeah, it's not. So my question isn't about whether or not you can get your hands on an Idris to fly in the game. My question is, what I'm trying to do is think through why they are bringing it into the game now, if that's what they're doing. Right? Like I said, I don't think they are. But what would be the driving force behind the decision now? Are they still going to hull limit them after they've been implemented in game? Don't know. Right? And that's the point, is that if it's coming now, like, what's the reason behind it? If they're selling it now that way, it's not necessarily money driven and not rather the gameplay. Because most are not in the game, and we would need ages to see the effect. So I'm not. That's probably in reaction to something that was talked about earlier. Rep needs to translate into something tangible in game, whether it's access to rare loot or player titles, achievable fire factions. Yeah, rep absolutely needs to drive something. It can't just be a, oh look, I'm this level. And the other thing I think is that one of the mistakes is gating missions behind rep. Some of them, sure, not the branch that we have at the minute, though. You know, the idea that I need to do X number of mercenary missions in underground facilities just to get to the point where I can go kill the named guy or do the data pad missions, like, it's repetitive enough as it is, without then going, hey, we've got 10 missions you can do in underground facilities, we're going to make you do 2 of them for 1 or 2 levels before you even get to do anything else. That just strikes me as a really bad idea. Rep games could be ships, access to better missions, access to locations, and better amenities like NPC repair crew. Yeah, absolutely. The way people deal with you, discounts on stuff, priority. I don't want to say priority landing because that'll piss people off, but you get my point, right? There's that sort of stuff. The frame freezes today are super funny and on fire. Thanks, Rush. I mean, at this point, they do need to show progress and new things. When there is more game to play, more of the loops are probably functioning, then I think they can kind of chill, slow down, but not yet. Yeah. And this is the interesting thing. So I saw, like, if you go and watch the video that they brought out this week, the ISC, the hair one, some of the comments in there are just hilarious. Because, we've been banging on about ages that you can read, shut up, stop doing new things, bring us, fix things. They're like, okay, we're going to fix things, but you're not going to get new stuff. Is that okay? Yeah, shut up, fix things. Okay. All right, we're fixing things. Wait, where's the new stuff? It's like, you can't have it both ways. Like, they told us the new stuff was going to slow down, and then everyone gets angry because all they did was add some hair in a video. And actually, I thought it was quite interesting. I thought the guy did a really good job of explaining it and making it a compelling story. But still, everyone that's banged on about stop adding new stuff instantly switched to, oh my god, really, hair, that's what you're telling us about? Silliness. Just silliness. So yeah, back around 314, 315, I spent my time, says Teapot, filling a C2 with quantanium from mining till I can get an 890 jump because I could. I did that, then a reclaimer, before salvage was a thing, and did bunkers in them, and it got boring after a while. That's that, right? I think it's always interesting, potentially, to do a little bit of an earn-up, take one of your basic ships, figure out how much time it would take you, you know, to get to, I don't know, Sabre or, you know, one of the really combat-capable ships, Gladius, Arrow, whatever it is, from your Mustang or your Aurora, if you've got one. I think it's always really interesting to see that, or, you know, if you've got a Vulture, see how much it takes you to get to the next salvage ship. If you've got a Prospect, how much does it take you to get to the Mole? Bearing in mind that all of that is going to change. So with all the ships that are going to come in, those prices are going to fluctuate and be all over the place, and you know the rate at which you'll earn will change. As we've seen time and time again, there was a time when quantanium mining was the only way to make money, then salvage was the only way to make money, ERTs were the only way to make money. Like, we just consistently go through stuff. Then it was Siege of Origin, just keep doing Siege and getting, like, you know, 350 mil, or 350 thou for an hour's worth of work, because people were just rushing to the end. Ta-da! So yeah, there's lots of kind of different things like that, and I think that's the problem, is doing it once or twice is fine. And I think now this is why they're focusing on this story idea, is the idea of, you know, now there's a reason to come back in, because there's stuff that you can only do right now and you might not be able to do again for some time, if at all. Rewards that you can only get right now that you won't be able to get again. So at least we've got a reason to log in for new experiences, new missions, all that sort of stuff. The remote asteroid bases are fun. Haven't had enough time around the Hathor locations, but I'm sure that's going to be fun as well. You know, there's a lot of stuff to look at. You know, we'll see. Okay, star stuff. Thank you. I shall have a look, because I've got two of the audio enhancements on. I've got noise remove room echo. So if I remove that, what does that look like? And then we'll give it another go, and then when the camera freezes up, we know that it's not fixed it. But I've removed both of those just for the now, and then we'll go from there. We'll give it a go. So when the camera starts freezing, you know it's not worked. Server performance someday dipping hugely when the Idris releases. That's the downside of too many of them, I worry. Yep, Polaris Idris, the whole thing. Is this Idris a new thing anymore? Most people have been on it, and I would imagine after it's been in game effectively viable for a year. Yeah, that's that, right? So again, that's the question. Why are they releasing it now when they said they were going to keep it for Squadron? What's the impetus to suddenly release it? If they're not going to change the pattern of selling it, what's the point right now, other than to stress the servers? I mean, maybe this is why they're doing the Polaris test. Maybe they're trying to figure out whether or not they can do the Idris. You just think this close to ILW, they would have done this test a little bit further out, maybe, before committing to it. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, so Tadoma says, I get annoyed about seeing something I've bought that I can't use. Yeah, I get that. I sympathise. It's why maybe buying concept ships is not the best way to do it. I hope we get 30 hairs every patch, says Shadow Gal. Yeah, absolutely. Rep grinding is boring at the moment, says Rush. Especially the higher up you go in the rep, and the credits being paid are almost equal from rep 0 to rep level whatever. And only the last 3 levels have more credit pay. Yeah, absolutely. Scissor Ninja, hello, buddy. Are we getting one of those new Kruger ships, flyable at ILW? I hope so. Your guess is as good as mine with the stuff. All we know is that there are a lot of ships in the work right now, which by definition increases the chance that it's one of the Kruger ships. I think Kruger, you know, and Consolidated Outland are 2 manufacturers I would love to see more from in both. You know, in both iterations. So, with any luck, here we go. There we go. I must be in the game because the camera stopped working. Yay! But yeah. Do you know what? I'm just not going to bother with the game. There's just no point. Those streaming screen freezes can be entertaining. There was one guy who had a mass coronal ejection detected freeze frame. Good times. Yeah, Zavath, that's dangerous ground. That's one of the reasons I stopped. Yeah. I would be shocked if the Idris is coming out in May. Agreed. Perseus before Idris, absolutely. Half my ships are years and years off so socially. Evening, mate. Hey, Jock. Good to see you. This coming Friday, hopefully, buddy. We'll see. We'll see how things go. Bloody camera again. It's just getting old, guys, to be honest. So yeah, so there's that. We'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I doubt Idris. Kruger ships, hope so. Asgard, vehicle carrier or carrier. Not like the Liberator, which is a shipping ship. But we know this, don't we? But yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what Fleetweek brings and whether or not they start working that into some sort of like to some sort of mission, to some sort of game element. That would be really cool. Because they are not even thinly veiled. They are just excuses to sell more ships, and there's nothing else to it. Other than maybe the Javelin tour, but I think that kind of happens at Origin now anyway, right? At least there's always a button for it on the elevator. I've not gone because I've seen it enough. So yeah. Oh yeah, no, Zaveth, no, it's not the tech caps, mate. It's the it's that picture you sent me in particular. There's a story behind that, but maybe if I drink enough and you catch me on Discord, I'll tell you the story one day. But yeah, so that's that. Hopefully that answers your question, Jockcop. Yes, hopefully I will be around on this Friday. I'll probably be battered, but yeah. I would love to see Kruger as a luxury competitor to Origin as a shitty. Yeah, absolutely. So here's one of the interesting things that we were talking about on. Oh, hang on. Right, give me 2 moments. I'm going to pop. I'm going to be back with you in just a minute, but I need to take this. Bear with me. Okay, and I'm back in the room. Apologies for that. I need to step away. Who's getting a raft now they're upping the cargoes to Teapot? Not sure. Be interesting to see. I did have the raft for a while with the paints and stuff, and then changed it for something else. I can't remember if I melted it or upgraded it. I think I melted it, but yeah. So yeah. I had one before. It's now an ironclad, says Teapot. Yeah, I don't know about luxury, but I'd like to see high-end bespoke stuff from Kruger. So kind of a custom shop, but not Rolls-Royce type of thing. Yeah, there's a couple of gaps on there. I've also noticed there's a couple of missions just on new things that have come in with people that are with new factions and stuff. There's a new security organization that I've never met before. Is it Fletcher or Ferguson or something like that? That was interesting to find in game. So yeah, why am I off to one side? Why is that happening? I don't know. Whatever. Not unless you're willing to go all the way with an 890 jump competitor from Kruger. Anything less is meaningless. Yeah, we're really off piste here, aren't we? Yeah. So, speaking of Raft, I bought a few $5 Nova to Raft CCUs. The Raft might go up in price during the next patch. Possibly, yeah. The CCU thing is a really interesting. It's like a wormhole all of itself. It's its own game, and I'm kind of, you know me. I'm not massively comfortable talking money on stream. In terms of what people could or couldn't do, but yeah, I've got a few speculatives now. It might be interesting actually if I go and pull my fleet up at some point and have a look and show you all the speculatives that I've got, because I bought a couple of them because I'm naughty. Yeah, but yes, we'll see. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I feel a little bit discombobulated with the awful start of the stream and the technical issues that we've had. Because of course the plan for the stream was to be taking you guys with me to play the game. So we've got a choice, okay? I don't know whether you guys want to I kill the camera and play the game and you just get a voiceover on the screen. Foxwell, thank you, Shittyface. That's the one. Whether I kill the camera and we play the game, because that could work, right? And we play a little bit of the game and we see where we go. The only problem with that is, of course, I've only got half an hour, so I'll probably have just enough time to get there. So we can do that in the future. I can switch over, kill the camera, and that'll be fine. We can play that going forward until I figure out what the hell the issue is, because it shouldn't be like this. It wasn't like this before the issue here. But I feel a little bit discombobulated. I feel like I'm all over the place with what I'm talking about, and that the frustration, definitely in the first kind of 45 minutes, has really kind of leaked through. And I don't feel like I'm giving you guys a great, a great product, if that's the way to. I don't feel like this is a stream worthy of you guys spending your Sunday night with me here. So I'm really tempted to kind of cut your losses and run and kind of give it just a few more minutes of us kind of chatting back and forth, and then letting you guys get on with whatever it is you should be doing on a Sunday rather than sitting here listening to me. Because yeah, of course, with the idea of the game and wanting to stream that to you guys, what I didn't do was look into a lot of the other things that were going on and have a bunch of stuff prepped. So we'll see. But yeah, it's one of those things that, one of the interesting things that we talked about in Discord a little while back, and I apologise to everyone who was in Discord at the time and listened to this. Was the idea of FOMO from two perspectives, right? The idea of the mission rewards that we're seeing now, so like the Ripper SMG for the fight for Pyro, and the gun skin, the hanger flare, the ship skins for Supply or Die, those sorts of things. So that's one element of FOMO. Play it or you don't get it. And then the other side, which is the kind of, I guess it's not so much FOMO, people call it predatory marketing practices, but the idea of like, hey, you get this ship, you get your 600i executive, you get your F8 executive and all that sort of stuff. And it was a really good conversation. I'll probably turn it into a video at some point. I'd really like to get on stream with Space, Tomato, and maybe a couple of others and have a conversation with them. That'd be cool. But one of the things that came up there is the idea that the difference between incentive and reward is whether or not you already have it. Okay, and that's how people view it. That's obviously definitionally the difference. But for people, For example, you know, the people who have a problem with the changes to the recruitment system and the referrals are the ones that are going to, if they just added levels to what they have at the minute, who would automatically get it. For the rest of us, we don't have it, so it's like, okay, well, I'd have to work extra to get that and all that sort of stuff. It's the same with the idea of the, you know, the F8 executive. Is some of the loudest critics of it were people that had it, and it was like, you know, or even better, some of the loudest critics about the F8 being sold were the people that already had it. It's like, well, hang on, you say that it's predatory, but then when they open it up to everyone else, you whinge, and you feel like you've got nothing now. And it's like, it was like, oh, I spent $15,000 for nothing. It's like, wait a second, no, you didn't. You bought $15,000 worth of stuff, whether it's subscriptions or ships or merch or CitizenCon tickets. You got something for that money. And it's the same with the missions at the moment, as a couple of people were saying, like, you know, hey, they feel like they're being forced to play. And the flip side is how would we feel as a community if we got to the release of 1.0 and we hadn't had anything to show for it? Other than the experience of playing, there were no time-limited skins. There was nothing like that other people couldn't buy on day one. Like, I don't know about you guys. I think we all kind of expect to have a few really cool things in that were like from way back in the day when we were all testers, like the CitizenCon trophies and like the Banu Cube that went with Bar Citizen and all that sort of stuff. We all kind of expect that. And that's great if you want to play. If you don't want to play, it becomes FOMO because you're being forced to play it. And it was just a really interesting conversation about how people view these things, the idea of FOMO and the idea of being forced to play and the idea of time-limited rewards, massively coloured by whether or not you've got it already and whether or not you're enjoying the game at the time. If you're enjoying the game and you don't have it, nobody cares. If you're enjoying the game or not enjoying the game, but you already have it, nobody cares. If you're not enjoying the game and you don't have it, you care. And it's kind of a really interesting, like, matrix of how people are, not matrix as in the movie, matrix as in these people care, these people don't. It's a really interesting way to kind of look at that sort of stuff. But thank you for the nice kind words in chat about it not being discombobulated. I think I'm going to feel that way right until the end because I haven't done my prep work, but I shall hobble through for as long as I am able, and for as long as you guys will have me. Hey, Tokeda, no worries. Happy Easter to you, my friend, and to everyone for whom Easter is a thing. But yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. People want to feel unique and super special. Any item in game should be available to everyone using different methods. Yeah, and this is the really interesting thing. So there's a supermarket over here called Tesco's. And what Tesco's does is you have something called a club card. So when you buy, it's like a little card and you scan it and it just attributes that purchase to your account, right? It's not a credit card, there's no money on it. But what happens is the more you buy, you get points. And after a certain amount of time, those points become money off vouchers, right? So it's like, hey, the more you spend with us, the more money off you get when you come back. So you don't have to, you can go to another supermarket, right? And the money that you're spending because you're spending it. You're not spending it to go, oh, well, if I spend another 50 quid, I'm going to get more vouchers, which is going to be like 5 quid off or whatever. And to me, the concierge levels are very much that, right? Is that you're already spending the money, you're buying other things. I mean, if you're spending money just to get to 15,000 so you could get your executive F8, you're probably doing it wrong. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys think. But it's a very interesting conversation about, you know, especially now when they're saying, hey, you get these rewards, you don't get them again. Like, you'll have heard this story before, so forgive me, but the supply or die stuff, I didn't get the skins for the Vulture, the Prospector, and the Misfortune. And I wanted them. But because I got hacked off. I wasn't playing it anywhere near enough. I knew it was a risk, and then it kind of hit, and it was like, oh, all right, I'm not having those. But that's fine, right? I accepted that risk because we knew the terms when it was happening. But for a lot of people, there was a very concerted, very panicked, almost attitude of must get it done, must get. Has anyone got any ice I can buy? Like I need to complete this and I need to get it done. So it's interesting to see the different approaches to it and the different attitudes in what happens when a game tries to reward you. Because this idea of, well, why are you time limiting rewards? Okay, we don't. But then as someone says, you don't, as Socially says, you don't get to feel special. You don't get to have things that only someone who's been a backer as long as we have will have the option to, because we were here slogging it out through all of the, excuse my language, shit that the game throws at us right now. Of course they should put things in that keep us playing. And that make us want to come back and that reward us for playing the game. If you don't want it, don't play. No harm, no foul, right? I think the rare stuff in games should be attainable from hard bosses, rare loot locations, max rep levels, etc. Yeah, absolutely. And things like, it would be really interesting to have some sort of like medal system, maybe, right? Like the first Siege of Origin. So you have the first Siege of Origin medal. The first Xenothreat, the first Xenothreat incursion medal, or whatever, right? Whatever it is. And it doesn't even need to be something physical in game, although it would be kind of cool, right? You could have, much like you do in Cyberpunk, where you've got a weapons cabinet with all the gaps. You could have all the gaps. And if they were really clever, it could be from when you got your game account. So all the ones that you might not get, or that you could never have gotten, aren't even in your little medal cabinet. It's only the ones from when you owned a game account that could be there, and then you see what you took part in and what you didn't, right? And then, you could opt to have the gaps there or remove them, and they were just all their little sections. There's so many cool things that they could do, and they come into the hangar, and you've got your chuffing great display case into your hangar, and you've got all the medals from alpha, from pre-alpha, from this nonsense. Like, that's a big thing. No one else is ever going to have that, no one else is ever going to get it. So that would be cool. But yeah. Like, you can't get that paint, but you can get the same decals and collar combo, just having the little badge with that specific skin name. Yeah. You had to take me through 1.5 hours of unloading an entire reclaimer and 4 SEU chunks. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that's happening. A point system for purchases will be such a good idea. Good incentive aside from the concierge. Yeah, anything like that. But this is where we go back to. Remember, what will happen with the community will be, oh well, I can't get it because I haven't been playing long enough, and oh my god, this is just forcing us to play the game, and blah 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 blah. In the same way that people go, oh, this is just forcing me to spend $15,000. Is it? See what I mean? So yeah. Badgers took the glasses off, he got serious, right? So she says, I didn't do the save Stanton missions, and I was fine with that, but when we did the first fight for Pyro missions, I didn't get Ripper because of a bug. When CRG fixed my reward, they gave me River. Good. I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did. I've missed out on other rewards, says Zaveth. I'm okay with the sparsity. Trophies are only valuable when they're limited. Exactly that. Hex codes, says T-Jack. I knew that was coming up at some point. Major Star Stuff says, the player display titles from the web hanger need to be turned into in-game medals. Yeah. There's some really cool stuff that they could do, and I'm sure they're going to get to all of that. These could become like so Games Workshop, the company that I used to work for, the ones that make all the Space Marines and all the models that you build and paint and play. When you join the team as a junior sculptor, they give you a project to do, and you end up sculpting something that's like your first part. And like, you could do that with the devs, right? You know, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to program a this, or you're going to add a that to the game. And, you know, it could be new items for visuals, whatever they're doing, right? It could be some sort of new, you know, NPC only vehicle that you see, like the Raptor, the trash truck, those sorts of things that you and I would never want to use, but are just there for, you know, whatever in the verse. So yeah, I missed out on another reward. Oh, sorry, I said that, Zaveth, didn't I? Hexco's good, but jetpack and swords would be great. Give me my katana. We saw the swords in Wickelow's Emporium, so looks like that's coming. Wicklow has your katana. Jadama says exactly that. Xi'an fast, agile mech suit, which would be nice. Good contrast to the Titan suits. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see. The Titan suits, I'm really interested to see how they implement those. Excuse me, good lord. There's a clear, like, for me, there's a clear hole in the FPS kind of spectrum of speed versus power versus toughness that the Titan suits can go into. I'd be really interested to see if CIG are on the same level, right? To me, slow moving, powerful frontal armor, serious weapon. You know, that's the strength of them. You know, kind of like unstoppable but plodding, very tough from the front, size 1 ship weapon to lay waste to your opponents. The downside being that on their own they are easily outflanked, outpaced. The back is weak, so you need to use them in a combined arms. Otherwise, all that's going to happen is everyone's going to go into battle in a Titan suit. Don't know. So yeah. I want Xi'an bladed discs, which return after being thrown. I don't know. I don't want a bladed disc coming back. It's fine. I'll go pick it out of the wall or the bad guy or whatever. But coming back, how are you catching that? It's a bladed disc. How? You catch it once, and then you're not catching anything ever again. But yeah, careful. Be careful with spiky stuff. Not good. But yeah, how do you catch that? Carefully, says Jadome. Sir, you are not wrong. Very, very accurate. Yeah, so there's that. With your special gloves that they return to. Interesting. Space magic. But yeah. So there's that. So here's an interesting one then. Let's try this. Let's go with, for the next Fleet Builder, where you guys, if you haven't seen a Fleet Builder episode, it's where I come up with a question as like, what would you have in a Deep Space Salvage fleet or whatever. The ones that we've had at the moment was a base building fleet, and then we had, oh god, I can't even remember the other one now. We had a fleet for the blockade runner. So to intercept ships running away with cargo, steal the cargo off it and return it to the station. What would people like to see in the next Fleet Builder? Because you guys get to be involved, right? We have 3 types of fleet. I do a 5-player fleet, a 10-player fleet, and then we have an org fleet, which is like the ridiculous, forget that things like player limits and all that sort of exist. What would you guys go for? What would you guys want to see in a Fleet Builder episode? What would you enjoy seeing? Let me know. Hey Timble, good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. Maybe we need everyone to go into battle with a Titan suit. That would be glorious. Yeah, stand by for Titanfall, right? A base building fleet. Did that one, Rash. That's already up. That's on the it's on the channel somewhere. I'll go and find the link. I'll find the link, but I'll pop it up once I've got it. Let's have a look. YouTube. Bum, bum, bum. I shall find you the link while you guys are thinking. Anything on the fleet builder front? Oh, have I lost the camera? Hi. How effectively to use a Perseus with escort operations. So Perseus murder fleets or Perseus escort ops. The best place to look is the Discord, where you can see everyone's thoughts and fleet ideas for it. Yeah, absolutely. If you get into the Discord, there's a fleet builder section which opens up when I've got submissions for fleet builder, because you guys get to come up with a fleet. All the details are in there, whether it's 10 players, whether it's whatever it is. You guys let me know, and then we go from there. Yeah, I pick one every week to be, or every episode to be the winner. So be interesting to see. Long distance hauling fleet and defense. So like a hauling escort, like a convoy fleet maybe. Ground assault with ground vehicles and air cover. Nice. Good idea, Ray. Awesome. Okay. So, best starter ship fleet of 5 ships. Yeah, possibly. Okay. So mining fleet, plan an entire operation from the mine to the point of sale. Nice. Like it. There's a couple of ideas in there. I think I'm gonna have my next couple of base builder episodes kind of planned out, which would be good. Good stuff. Okay, well, I'm going to stop flogging a dead horse. It's been an absolute pleasure to have everyone here, but I am now going to I think I'm going to admit defeat, and that I have unfortunately nothing else planned, and that unsurprisingly Star Citizen doesn't want to play. I will be more prepared in the future, I promise. But we'll see. Thank you very much for joining and putting up for my drivel, my kind of random, all over the place chat and everything else. But I think it's probably worth me just calling it there, I think. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.